Welcome back to another video update here from me, looking at the major markets and how they trend. Last week was just a simple chart update. Let's take another interactive look here at what has happened. We are looking at the Dow Jones index. When you take the major fractals that mark the swing highs in or on this monthly weekly chart actually here, you can see that we are trading the third week above these or above this resistance. We are clearly above the balance zone as well. This black line is the resistance, and the green candles here, even though they last week was a bearish candle, show us that we are still going up from a momentum and acceleration in momentum kind of perspective. The month of July is now over. Next week will be the first day in August, starting out on Monday with the new trading week. When you take a look at the monthly chart of the US 30 here, the CFD of the Dow Jones, you can really see how clean and clear this market has been moving ever since the beginning of 2009. I mean, on this monthly chart, you get the up move from the downside to the upside of the balance zone, meaning after the 2008 action bearish market movements, you get the first breakout fractal on the other side of the balance zone. You would simply buy here, you get a penetration of the balance zone. This would possibly stop you out. Your stop would be at least at break even here. Depends on how you like it and on how long you want to follow this trend. Let's say you are out, maybe even with a loss. You would re-enter in this period of time here in 2012 and then simply follow the market to the upside all the way throughout all the way to 2015. In the meantime, price stayed above the balance zone. The trend is up. There's no questions asked. And at this point here, you now get a minor correction inside of the balance zone. So simply after taking those two breakouts and moving, the market needs to breathe. It's never a straight line to any target that it may go to. It has to breathe in the meantime, and it will do that in major and minor corrections, and you can differentiate those corrections looking at the momentum oscillator. If you do not get the momentum oscillator turning below the zero line in an uptrend, you are in a minor correction. Should that happen, should it go below the zero line, you are in a major correction. So in here you just have a minor correction. So even though those were quite a couple of months where we didn't see any substantial movements on the lower time frames, well, the daily chart, the weekly chart, you only have a minor correction. It's nothing big, it's nothing huge. And now even at the end of this month, again, we are simply closing out higher. We are closing at a new all-time high for the month ending. So there's not really any question that needs to be asked here, except for that you should be long. You should have taken these breakouts that you get on the weekly. It would be at this point here that there you have your fractal, and now you're simply long. If you trade the daily chart, you are long from the breakout on this fractal, or you take the major breakout here when the price makes a new all-time high. And when you look at the last couple of days, there's not really a whole lot of bearish action. It's just like pausing, and you can smell the market probably rising again. I don't see any ending to this anytime soon, and this is pretty much how the American stock markets look at the end of the month of July. Looking at the S&P, looking at the Nasdaq, they will all pretty much give you the same picture. The Nasdaq is even more up at the end of this week. Now take a look at the European market here, the German DAX index. When you simply apply the same philosophy, when are you going to get a breakout to finally follow the market after it has been correcting throughout these couple of weeks here? couple of weeks is a little bit too less to say. That was April 2015 that this correction started, so that's more than a year before now we do have this fractal breakout coming. Of course, we have a straight move to the upside, a successful breakout with the price closing above the breakout zone after it has been hit is pretty probable also in this index, even though, as you can see from the overall picture compared to the US markets, we are still about to break out. There are no new all-time highs yet. We are far away from them, so we do see quite some lag in the overall stock market picture, even though we only compare the two markets here. But if you look at the Australian market and some of the other European countries, you can see how out of sync they actually are. Let's take a look at gold. Gold we have been discussing. You do get all of these breakouts here, which are all possibilities to join this market as it starts to move to the upside. You can see it on the monthly as well. And this week was another bullish week, and we're probably going to see new highs very soon. You have the next fractal to buy right at that point. Let's take a look at the monthly chart, which gives us a pretty nice close here. As you can see, we are outside the balance zone. It doesn't look like the market is looking for too much of a drop back into the balance zone. You have these 3 months that seem like it was enough for the market to pause a little bit inside of the balance zone, and now we're probably to the upside, off to the upside to make new highs. Momentum is also on our side. Let's simply hold this trade. Don't even think about it. Just hold it. You will probably be holding it for the rest of the year. Same goes for silver. We also have a very strong month closing outside of the balance zone. You can see how the indicator is turning around now. We don't have any momentum on the plus side of the zero line here, but that's just a matter of time until that is going to happen. So let's just stick with that as well. The euro dollar has been a little bit disappointing here on or at the end of this week on the monthly. As you can see, we are still inside a correction, a minor correction, and we are simply penetrating very, very slightly from the downside to the upside, the balance zone, but it's just a matter of time until this will get going. This week was not that thankful. We already did have this sell signal right here. There is another fractal that will show us a breakout at that point. Of course, don't forget your major resistance up here, where price is never able to close above. So this would be a very important zone that should make you notice this is still short. So don't even think about buying this unless you're at least on a 4-hour time frame. But as you can see here, there are no good moves except for this one maybe, but the rest is all very, very difficult for the trend follower. Now at the end of this week, we're coming up to the balance zone again, and this will usually act as a pretty strong resistance, dynamic resistance. And since we broke out already, I do expect a reaction off of that level. Doesn't mean that it doesn't or it can't go above it, but I doubt that we will see a close above it. I think the market has been kicked off to fall, but it just hasn't gotten started yet. It will give us a new stop level as it comes up here and then hopefully retraces and continues lower. Then we'll see if it can actually hold to make new lows. Here we have the US dollar. I was mentioning this one last week. We did have an upside breakout after seeing this trend corrected. Now you get your first fractal breakout. Unfortunately, this week the market took quite a dive here on this Friday and is now closing inside the balance zone as well. Again, just like in the euro dollar, I think the breakout happened. It may go a little bit lower and then reverse pick up the trend direction. I wouldn't be too worried about those two. Now, of course, I have no idea what they are doing. I'm just trading the market. I'm trading the signals, following the price as long as it goes wherever it wants to go. And I don't know if this is going to continue. In my opinion, at the end of this week, it looks pretty good. If I should be wrong, or in case I'm wrong, there will always be my stop, which will make sure that I'm not losing too much money. I've posted an update on Apple 2 weeks ago. When you take a look at the stock index, at the stock, not the index, I'm sorry. Take a look at the stock itself. You can see how it went below the support here, and this you had all the reason to sell, but now prices. Well, price is significantly higher. And 2 weeks ago I said, when we came into this area here, that this is probably not the best scenario anymore. Should you have sold here, you're going against the trend. When you take a look at the monthly chart, you're going against the trend. The trend is up, and this little bit does not kill the uptrend. However, you do have the momentum below the zero line, so a little bit more of a move to the downside was a possibility. But the market is God, if you want. The market is the God, and the market is going to tell us when we should exit our positions, and it tells you that as it gives you the fractal, and it's going to be hit inside of the balance zone. At that point, you should know that market is looking back to find equilibrium, and it's probably not going to do that if it really is after a breakout on its way into the breakout direction. If it hits a fractal that is being hit inside the balance zone, you're very smart if you just get out. So we do have a couple of things running here, the indices as well as gold and silver. We do like, or we would like to see a push in the US dollar and the euro. What is definitely down very, very much are the British pound pairs. Here is the British pound Australian, maybe not of the most interest to you, but if you just look at the trend, you want to follow the trend. Wherever a trend comes up, you have your breakout right there, and now there is a breakout continuation probably happening. If you trade the daily chart, you already had your entry signal up here, and now you're still short. You do have a new signal here if you get out somewhere in this area, because you have a fractal, it is hit inside the balance zone. You have a continuation fractal right there now. Let's take a look at how all of this pans out. Thanks again for watching the videos, and talk to you soon.